folks. Good morning. Egnards here. We have the Relic Economy changes and Relic Delta coming to the game in about 8 days at this point. And one thing that I don't think enough people are talking about is really just the implications of the Relic Economy changes, especially and very specifically the ones that have to do with the raid. Now, I know we can talk about like droid brains and their access and signal data and their access and corrupted signal data and how we're going to get it and all of that stuff. But I really just want to focus on the raid and being able to use our MK2, MK3, and MK1 on the different relic materials. Now, I do understand that there is going to possibly be more of a crunch on G13 gear going forward because you're going to be using your MK2 on multiple sources. We're going to talk about that as well, but I did wake up early today to put together a rudimentary spreadsheet just to kind of show you just how insane these changes actually are. And I do have one request today. It's something that I have never done in the past and I feel weird about doing, but if you get through this video and you are not someone who subscribes and you do enjoy and find it helpful, please consider doing so, just because a lot of effort goes into it. But with that said, let's throw that intro up. All right. Now, when we talk about the raid and the update, I am not going to be talking about my guild. My guild does max the raid, so I'm going to see further implications when we get there down at this box. What we are going to talk about is the 245 box, and we're going to specifically talk about the 245 box because of an earlier video that we did where we were talking about how just getting Tarkin and Scorch could get you within 5 million points of this if your entire guild got on board, essentially making it very friendly to the mid game to get very close to the end game box. How this change will affect you, if you're not hitting that box, whether it's even better or slightly worse, is definitely going to depend on your guild. But let's throw this over to the internet, and we're going to look at the scavenger raid shipments and scavenger raid shipment changes, which are effectively that Electrium and Zimbittles are going to be changed for MK3 to MK2, and that Electrium cost is going to drop down to 75 MK2 raid tokens, and the Zimbittle card cost to 100 MK2 raid tokens. Carbonate circuit boards, bronzium wirings, chromium transistors, and rhodium heat sinks are going to be changed from MK2 to MK1, with there being a sliding scale of cost from 35 to 55 currency per unit that you receive. And what does this mean, right? That's craziness. And we'll get to that in a second, because I did hear that the one frustration players are having is that with this change here, the Electrum conductors and the Zimbittle cards, is that if you are in the mid to mid end game and you are really relying on MK12 and MK3 MK12 gear in order to get to gear 13, you rely on that raid token. And I will say that yes, you are going to still have to invest some of your currency into G13 gear, even though CG has seemed to be relatively generous with the lightspeed tokens that they kind of hand out. And we are going to be getting quite a few of them for free over the next 6 months. This is a resource management game. I do understand that there is going to be a little bit of a crunch there, but I do think that this benefits the player base overall. And we're going to go to a few of our charts just to kind of show you why. Now I'm going to zoom in here, and this is effectively what things look like right now, right? Our MK3 and our MK2. If we look at our Zimbittles and our Electrium conductors, we can kind of see the cost per quantity on the right-hand side. And we can see that the cost per quantity of our MK2 relic gear is relatively high, which is why people right now buy G12 gear, right? If those items were reasonably priced, people would be also buying relics with their MK2. We don't, just because it's insane, and we're going to ignore chromium transistors because they're so damn easy to get. as well as honestly Erodium heat sinks, which you can purchase with MK1 at really um, high amounts, right? At this point in the game with my MK1 and probably for the last, I'd say, year, my raid currency when it came to MK1 has been relatively used randomly just to kind of get it out of the way. But now with the new change, what we are going to be seeing is a little bit of a shift here. We have our old cost on the left. We have our new cost on the right. Our old cost with a more expensive currency was 125 and 100, right? And that's dropping down to 175 per unit. That's a pretty big deal, especially when we're going to a currency that you're getting a lot more of, and you're getting a lot more of it relatively quickly. So if I'm looking at my raid boxes on my other screen, I know that you can't see it. You actually max out your MK2 at the we're still going down, still going down at the 20.5 million bucks. 20.5 million bucks. So you're going to be maxing out MK2 very early. You have to literally try if you don't want to max out your MK2s, right? Insane, super, super crazy. And that actually means that your MK1s, you are maxing out at the 14.5 or the second box. When we look at the MK1s, we're looking at these old costs on the first side, 650, 550, 450, 400 is dropping down by magnitudes. We're going from 650 to 55 on Erodium heat sinks. We're going from 400 to 35 on carbonate circuit boards, which is making this as a viable way to relic characters, especially for GL journeys. Now, what does that actually mean, right? We're going to go down one step forward and we're going to zoom out just slightly here. Make sure this is all the way on the screen. Essentially, we're looking at our new cost here, right? And we're looking at the amount of currency that we would get at the 245 box. But again, I will remind you that we're actually talking about maxing these two currencies out at the 40.5 million box. So very early on. And then we're looking at our quantity and the previous max quantity. And that previous max quantity is based on the 245 box. But in the new raid system, if you need Zimbital cards, you will get 97 maximum per raid versus 42 maximum in the previous system, right? That's nice. That's more than double Zimbitals that you'll be able to get. That's honestly more than I think you'll be able to get without refreshing that store, meaning that you are going to be using it on Electrium conductors as well. Your Electrium conductors, you are going to 129 maximum, up from a 52.5. Again, more than double. When we go to our MK1s, just look at this, our carbonate circuit boards, you are going from a previous maximum of 24 per raid, up to 471. Now, we don't know the quantities that you're going to be able to get these circuit boards in, so we don't necessarily know if you'll be able to literally buy 471, but we do know that if you go to that store every single refresh, you will almost definitely be able to get every single carbonate circuit board that you need, which also means that for players who are consistently buying those 500 crystal relic packs, you might not have to buy them anymore, right? If you are spending or saving 5,000 crystals a month in order to purchase those packs, you might be able to free up those crystals for something like a marquee pack, like an era pack, or droid brains, or whatever else you want. Essentially, this system is giving us a more seamless transition to be able to get to things like Relic 7 or Relic 8 or Relic 9. And the way that I see it is that Relic 7 is going to be like the new Relic 5, and Relic 9 is going to be like the new Relic 7. Now, I'm not telling you to like these changes. I'm just trying to explain to you how these things look from the understanding of the new raid economy change, and what the numbers actually look like. Going back to my previous point, when we go to like G12 gear and you're farming something and you need a lot of G12 gear in order to relic things up, this kind of goes back to my point when we talk about understanding limiting factors and making sure that you are trying to finish different parts of your farm at the same time. And what that means is that while, yes, you might split between MK two being used on MK12 gear and on Relic gear. If you are mindful about your farming and you look at your farming from the dynamic of it doesn't make sense to finish one thing before the other thing, you may decide, hey, 75% of my MK2 needs to go to G12 gear and 25% of it needs to go to Relic stuff, and my scavenger is handling the rest of that Relic stuff. Or you might be finding yourself more in the throes of Relicking and saying, you know what? I don't actually need G12 gear right this instance. I'm going to switch that up, and 25% is going to go to my MK12, and 75% is going to my Relicking. Effectively, for me, I know and I understand that I'm in the end game. I see myself having to scrap for Electriums and Zinbados significantly lower than I do right now. It is a huge crunch for me right now as an end game player, and I feel like with this new system, I will be in a place where I'm not going to have to worry about that anymore. So again, like it, love it, hate it, whatever it is, just all I want you to do is understand it. I hope you found this helpful. I don't know if it puts your mind at ease, but I hope it at least gives you the information that you need to make a more informed decision. As I said earlier in the game, I don't do this often, but if you found this helpful and you are not already subscribed, hit the button, help me out just a little bit. It gets my name out there. And as always, peace out. Have a great rest of your day.